Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Copper Jacket TV. So you know how we always say pay attention to what happens in California, because what happens there tends to gravitate to other states. As a matter of fact, there's several other states that use California as a test bed, and when a new law passes, they simply take that blueprint and implement it in their state. And we have a new case of that just happening with a brand new 11% tax on ammunition. Exactly like what they did in California. But this one might be even worse, because in the law itself, it says that ammunition is not a right, it is a privilege. I mean, the word privilege is actually in the law. So let's go ahead and talk about it a little bit more in detail and where it's happening. Stay tuned. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about what's going on here. And I gotta say, I feel very sorry for the people in this state. As somebody who lived a vast majority of my life in the state of California, I can absolutely empathize with you. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're going through. I have several friends that live there that let me know all the different things that are happening. And even what gets me is even just a couple years ago, this was a fairly 2A friendly state. I mean, it wasn't perfect by any means, but again, it was fairly 2A friendly. And now fast forward to today, just a couple years later, and the Second Amendment's just been completely crushed. And this new law that we're talking about is, again, just completely unconstitutional, but you can almost guarantee that they're going to pass it anyway. So we're talking about the state of Washington. More specifically, we're talking about House Bill 2238, which again adds an 11% tax to ammunition. Completely unconstitutional, but that's what they're trying to do here. Now, it's not just an 11% tax across the board. What they're looking to do is they're looking to add 11% tax on top of any federal, state, local, and even tribal taxes that currently exist. So you could be looking at paying more than 20% tax on that one specific item. Now, like I said before, they're saying that this is a privilege and not a right, and that's how they're able to tax these things. Let's just go ahead, we'll take a look at the bill itself, and I'll show you guys the language that's in it and exactly what they're saying. Okay, so let's go ahead and read directly from the bill here. It says, new section, section 2. A new section is added to chapter 82.08 RCW to read as follows. 1. There is levied and collected a tax upon each retail sale of ammunition at the rate of 11% of the selling price. 2. This tax is in addition to the federal, state, and local sales and use tax imposed on sales of goods and services under this chapter in chapter 82.14. Now, this is where they always exclude government officials and law enforcement, right? They're not going to be bound to the same laws that you are. So number 3, it says, the tax imposed under this section does not apply to sales, to state, local, or tribal governments for the purpose of supplying law enforcement agencies. Now, this is where the whole privilege thing comes in. We all know that it's a right. The courts have said that it's a right. In order for us to have the ability to use our arms, we need the things that are used in our arms. So for that purpose, these are protected by the Constitution, just like every other attachment that's used for the function of an arm, right? This is where they say, number 1, a use tax is levied on every person in this state for the privilege, oh thank you government, for the privilege of using ammunition as a consumer at the rate of 11% of the selling price. Now, I mean, just think about this for a second. I mean, the sheer audacity of someone to say that this is a privilege and not a right. It's a privilege for you to go out and for you to buy them, when we know that it's a fundamental right. This is one of our inalienable rights. And the courts have said this on multiple occasions, that anything that is used for the overall function of the arm itself is as protected as the arm. Because without it, there is no function, and therefore it has no use, and so it is protected. And so these are protected just like magazines and everything else. These are protected by the Constitution. And so again, we have multiple court rulings that back this up. Regardless, they still say that it's a privilege. And this is the problem that we have in multiple states, right? We see these states saying that you don't have a right to own a certain firearm. You don't have a right to own a certain type of magazine. You don't have a right. And they truly believe that you don't have this right, even though it's clear that we do. Now, the real core problem here is that we have politicians who value their agenda over the rule of law, over the Bill of Rights. They look past that. When they see that they can achieve something simply by passing a law and then allowing it to be upheld as the courts go through their process for years and years and years, then they'll just do it, and Constitution be damned. The Bill of Rights is rules for government. It's not rules for the people. If you take a look at the Bill of Rights, it tells the government what they're not allowed to do to the people. They're not allowed to impede their freedom of speech or their religious rights or their right to keep and bear arms, which says it shall not be infringed. These, again, are rules for government. But when the government chooses not to follow those rules, then we end up with unconstitutional laws like this that, again, just linger through the court system for years and years and years, because they know that that's kind of their get out of jail free card, is they can do what they want. If it goes through the court system, it's just going to sit there for a while. And meanwhile, the law usually, especially in states like that where it's, all controlled by one side, it sits there for a long time, and they'll find any way to try and make it valid. So again, I just wanted to share that with you and let you guys know what's going on top of everything else that's happened in that state. We've made multiple videos about Washington over the past couple of years, and it just seems to be a steady decline. The only way that's going to change is if people like you get out there and they do something about it. That's the only way. Make sure you make those phone calls, send those letters, even if you don't think they're listening. Make your voice heard. That's extremely important. Anyway, I want to thank you all very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please like, subscribe. Have a great day.